want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Oh yeah,
That's
just
right.
real men.
That's right. Globe, world, America, Northern Hemisphere, North America, Midwest, Colorado, Denver metro area, specifically to you, wherever you listen from is from. Hey, if you don't know this yet, you better know I'm Kirk M. Samuels.
And that's right. I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
For
Here
you.
we are again talking
For
to
you. For you.
To you.
This is our show Ito.
Show Ito.
Yeah, this is the
It's a
mini
little
version.
show.
This is the mini version. For those of y'all that don't know, we proudly broadcast over the airwaves, KLDC 1220 AM in the Mile High City and on podcasts everywhere, digital, et cetera, et cetera. But we record the hour-long version of our show on Mondays. As we record those, we actually stream it as well. So there's an hour-long version where we go like a little bit deeper in the topic. But then, and then our super producer, Nikki Nicole, she edits those during the week. And then, you know, you get the finished product on the weekends and on podcasts. So, boom.
Yes.
Here we are.
Yes. She makes
You have any idea why I'm looking down at my phone?
Because you're rude and you're not looking at me. You're not looking at my eye.
No, man, that ain't why. The reason I'm looking down at my phone is because if you go to the Mad Men of Masculinity page on Facebook,
oh, for
you
real?
can hit share. You can hit share. There's a little button with an arrow. If you hit share, I ain't talking about the singer like Sonny Ann. I'm talking about shares in share button. You can share, you can like, subscribe, you can Will Smith all those buttons and smack them around, and it don't cost you nothing. But man, every time you hit one of those buttons, a man gets healthier in his masculinity.
He gets his wings, right, or something.
He gets his wings. And if you go to that Mad Men of Masculinity page on Facebook as you're watching this live, if you comment on there, we'll see it live here. And JBK will make you famous because he'll click a button and all of a sudden your name and comment will pop up on the screen. And and this is going to be a trigger alert today. So, you know, This is going to be one of the ones you probably going to have an opinion. And so let us know. We want to hear that opinion. Why would they want to hear that opinion? What are we talking about today?
Well, today we're talking about stability and what that means for men, especially in relationships with the ladies, with the fairer sex, with those cray, lay.
Well, yeah, the films, really the balance. I mean, you know, there's a difference between the masculine and the feminine, and
really,
and
that's not what I heard on the news.
In case you didn't know that, you know, I know some people would like you to not know that, but there is a difference, and we should embrace those differences.
Yes.
And out of the gate, you know, I think, you know, luckily you intervened because, as I said yesterday, in my opinion, we could have called this one "Are Women Crazy?"
I don't think that would be too triggering, though. Do you think?
Well,
nowadays
that would have been clickbait. I mean, there would have been, you know, there'd have been some folks watching. Because
like,
from a man's perspective, it can feel like that. From a man's perspective, especially being in a relationship with a woman, it can feel like, man, she is cray. Like, what? Because femininity is chaos. It's a cloud, you know, and if you expect it to be different, then you are setting yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the river, you know, it flows, it rapids, it goes up and down, it's constantly in motion. So that's what we as men, being the quote unquote logical linear thinkers, living in our little boxes in our brains, why we have such a hard time dealing with a lot of times the chaos that could be the feminine nature. Although nowadays, with a lot of the ladies following the feminist narrative and being more masculine and a lot of the guys being more feminine, there's even more confusion going on.
Yeah, modern feminism has definitely intervened in this dynamic. But generally speaking, masculinity, you know, there's a lot of word pictures, man. Generally speaking, masculinity is the structure. You know, it's the flagpole that allows the flag to flap in the breeze. You know, it's the picture frame. It's the banks of the river, et cetera, et cetera. You can go. It's the mountain that allows the clouds to move around it. It doesn't get shaken. All those kinds of things, man. But either way, it can seem like chaos, man. And if you're a guy, man, if you're dating or if you're in a relationship, I mean, sometimes you say, man, is the juice really worth the squeeze? Sometimes.
Well, I mean,
just saying.
I guess it just depends on what you're looking for. And when we talk about the idea of stability for a man, it may look different than what a lady in a relationship will consider stability. Because a lot of times for men, it's not the same stability that we provide as far as being the rock and the flagpole and the riverbanks and that structure keeping person in the relationship. It could be a matter of, are we in this together? Is there trust? Is there stability in our relationship, knowing that as a man in relationship with a woman, are we in this together? Can we fight through the storms together? And so I think the stability that we as men look for in relationships can be very different than what a lot of ladies think of as stability. Because I think a lot of times they think of stability from a man as finances and being emotionally stable and not, taking off every time it gets hard.
Yeah, so this is we refer back to a post. You blame me for your transgressions. I don't know why. It's your business. If you
I found it on your
something,
page, man.
then you shouldn't have followed my lead on that one. But either way, the post begins like this. Ladies, please take note. Men, excuse me, men attend to women for two reasons: sex and love. But in most cases, men do not marry for sex or for love. They marry for stability. And then, then he goes even further and says, let me explain. A man can love you and not marry you. A man can have sex with you for years without marrying you, but immediately he finds someone who brings stability in his life and he marries her.
Ooh.
Boom.
Has that ever happened to any of you ladies out there? Is that something that you've experienced? Like, I gave him all my loving and then he went off with some other lady.
Yeah, well, and as we kind of, as a surface, I think way more than 51 out of 100 women have an inner Karen. No offense to all the people actually named Karen out there, but it is what it is. You got to live with it. I got to live with being named Kirk, so everybody wants me to beam them up. All right, so deal with it. Your name Karen, it is what it is. So, but I think, way more than 51 out of 100 women have an inner Karen, and sometimes they let that Karen drive. And when that Karen goes off the deep end, we all live for a crazy trip, and so from a guy perspective, it's like, yo, what's up with that, man? And that's not stability.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we really got into last night, and we'll touch on today as well, is that when it comes to those things, when you have emotional, chaotic moments, when the Karen comes out and grabs the wheel, are you accountable for that? Are you responsible for that? Can you say, yeah, hey, I'm sorry, I lost it. My Karen took the wheel and drove us off the cliff, and can we talk about it? I know in my experience, a lot of times in dating, especially with a lot of the younger women now, there's just no accountability. So they have their Karen moment, and then you're like, well, what was that all about? After the fact, well, if you can't handle that, then you can't handle me. It's your problem. Like, can we even discuss the fact that you just drove us off the cliff and had a teenage tirade moment in your 30s or 40s?
Modern feminism has done a great job at celebrating women. What it hasn't done is a great job at female accountability, self-accountability, collective accountability, and all those kinds of things. Is, girl, you are great. You are fabulous. You are a queen. You are perfect. You are a god.
You go, girl.
You go, girl. Everything about you is you slay, girl. Ooh, you a boss, babe. Ooh, you a bad bee. Blah, 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 blah. But wait a minute. Sometimes it should be, girl, you shouldn't be wearing that. Or, girl, you tripping right now. And so the difference is, from a guy perspective, at least from my perspective, if after the moment we can circle back and we can recognize and agree that, okay, that wasn't normal, right? I mean, like, that meltdown actually happened, then I can deal with it in the future. It makes it easier for me to deal with it in the moment of, like, okay, this is an episode. This is a storm front coming through. I know every day, all day ain't going to be like this, but it's a storm front coming through. But when there's no accountability, when there's no level of, okay, yeah, I mean, I was tripping yesterday. That meltdown was real. It is that time of the month, whatever it is, that is a thing. When there's no accountability to that, man, it makes it a whole lot harder to keep a straight face and a straight head.
Yeah, and that's what I talk about, why stability for men is different and why we want to be able to have that conversation after you have your moments. And we want to be able to share our moments with you and know that we can get through that storm together, because we're people. We're going to all have our crazy moments. I'm going to have my Ken Carl, whatever the Chad name. I don't even know what the guy's name is, but the
Probably
crazy
Brad.
dude moments. Probably Brad. All right. So I'm gonna have
Yeah.
my Brad moments. I'm gonna lose my stuff. And you're gonna have your Karen moments, you're gonna lose your stuff. Can we talk about it? And maybe even if we have good communication skills and we can talk about these things, we might even be able to laugh about them. And then that's one storm you get through. And really strong, long lasting relationships, becomes about what can you get through together. And as a team, are we getting through these moments together? And can we even like talk about it and what was underlying that? Because I think that's the biggest thing is there's so much lack of emotional intelligence on both sides nowadays that when you say what was that all about, they may not know. Yeah, I know for a lot of guys, well, what's going on? What are you thinking about? I don't even know. And we have this lack of emotional intelligence. So instead of just trying to figure it out together, we just say, no, I'm not going to talk about that. If you can't handle me, that's your problem. But
Yeah.
how healthy is that when you're not acknowledging your challenges and they're not acknowledging their challenges?
Hey, can you make Jenna famous?
Why you got to be hangry? Get you a snack, Jenna. Get you
Can you make
Snickers
her
bar.
famous? Jenna says sometimes they hangry, and that is true. That is true, but it is what it is, right? And so I say own that, man. You know,
Yeah.
if that's the case, if it, you know, it's like I had a meltdown, I was hangry, or I'm feeling hangry, I can feel it coming on, all that kind of stuff. So my thing is just own it. Just nobody, what is it, Snickers really satisfies.
It's really satisfied. I mean, hell,
so,
Kirk knows I get hangry. We've played golf, and he's got to go run somewhere before we go eat afterwards. I'm like, where you at, fool? I'm already here. I'm about to order. Where you at, fool?
For
I'm
real.
losing it.
And I'm like, dude, you need to relax. But I mean, so from my perspective, maybe we do need to bring some Snickers onto the golf course. I don't know, but from my perspective, that just makes it, that levels the playing field when at least we can acknowledge that. Like I can be the riverbanks, if you will. I can be all of those word pictures, but let's acknowledge the fact that there is a yin and a yang to this whole thing. There's a yin and a yang to the what's that symbol? What's the symbol with the black and the white thing and the
That's the yin and yang.
Is that what it is? Okay.
You just
and
said
so
it like 3 times.
Okay. I knew what I was saying. I didn't know what I was saying. I didn't know how much of a genius I was. But either way, so like I'm saying, we bring the balance to that whole thing. And so my thing is let's at least acknowledge that because man, there's nothing worse than having that meltdown. And you would think, ladies, like this has been happening to you once a month for 37 years. It shouldn't be a surprise, but somehow it keeps being a surprise. But like I said, I mean, at least if we can circle back and acknowledge that whole thing, man, that makes a whole lot of a difference, at least in my book anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's to use the riverbanks and the river analogy, it's very simple. You see what the river's doing. You see if it's swollen, if it's running fast, if it's rapids, or if it's in a drought and it's running low. And each of those bits of information tell you how to address the river. You don't jump in when it's overflowing or rapids or flooding. If it's low and smooth and calm, then like, okay, we can ford this river. It's the same thing when we as human beings are going through our emotional, storms. If we're not acknowledging that, then we just look crazy to the other person. And then sometimes, especially from the guy's point of view, if you're attempting to acknowledge and say, hey, I see you're having a moment, can we acknowledge this and talk about it? No, we can't acknowledge this. It's your problem.
Right.
Then we start feeling like we're getting gaslighted, going, well, okay, well, am I the crazy one? Because I saw that. I saw what you did. I saw what you said. And now you're telling me you didn't say it or it didn't happen? Like, is that me? Like, why do I now feel crazy? Because you're not acknowledging what actually happened.
Like we were both there in that moment. Like, that didn't happen in a vacuum, right? I mean, it wasn't one of us there and the other one wasn't. So when it happens, like I said, to pretend that it didn't happen, man, that's the trippy part, man. That's the part that I can't, that it's hard for at least me. I don't speak for every guy out there, but I bet you 51 out of 100 men have a hard time with, okay, it's hard for me to reconcile, especially since I may not go through that like they do. Jenna's on fire today, man. But I mean, it's one of those things that, we go through that with you. And so as we go through that with you, we like to acknowledge what we went through. It's like, you ever been on an airplane? This just came to my mind. You ever been on an airplane and when there's turbulence in the sky, don't you like to hear from the pilot? Like, okay, we all went through that. And, yeah, folks, or there's some turbulence coming. And I'm going to go ahead and put on this fasten seatbelt sign, ladies and gentlemen, because, for the next, 20 or 30 minutes, we might have some turbulence. Or, like I said, the fact that we just went through that and acknowledged am I the only one that likes to hear from the pilot when there's turbulence in the flight? Same thing. I just want to hear from the pilot that we all went through this whole thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just an acknowledgement of what you're going through. And when you don't acknowledge that, and you're going, like, the guy's going, well, that just happened. You just lost your mind. You turned into a teenage girl and just went completely la la gaga crazy. And you're not acknowledging this. We're not acknowledging what just happened. Like, you just threw the pan at my head, and now you're acting like nothing happened. Yeah. No, we need to talk about this. Yeah. And that's, the stability for men is really, if we go down to that post, the next line is the stability for men is peace of mind. Right. And that peace of mind is knowing that we can acknowledge and talk about these things as they go through, and we're not going to ignore them. Because when you have a moment or I have a moment, and then we try to act like it didn't happen, the other person's like, no, I saw that. I saw what you did. Now you're trying to make me feel crazy because you're not acknowledging what you just did.
Yeah. So let's acknowledge Mad Men or reset Mad Men of Masculinity. We love being over the air, 12:20 a.m. in the Mile High City, 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. You can hear the full show where we talk about this whole thing for more in depth and all that. It's also Wednesdays at 6 p.m. You can hear it live over the air. I mean, that one, we also push them out over podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. We want you to engage. We want you to partner with us. We want you to help us move healthy masculinity in the positive direction. If that's something you believe in, which if you don't, then you're a sucker and you should go bang your head in the door. Just saying. But so to your point, the second part of that post is what I mean by stability is peace of mind. And he said, I've seen some guys who make this statement. I love this lady, but I don't think I can spend the rest of my life with her. And then it kind of goes a little bit deeper, but he talks about the whole idea. And this is what I firmly believe, man. The older a man gets, the more peace has value in his life. That peace can almost trump everything. And I think peace is the new mistress. I mean, I think, a guy would rather have his peace in his little busted bachelor career once he, gets 40 something than to have a woman in his life that is going to bring chaos and the absence of peace in his life. And especially with the advent of broadband internet pornography, he doesn't even need women for his sexual outlet and all that kind of stuff. Not advocating any of that. But at the same time, that's just the reality of the culture we live in, right? I mean, and so from a guy's perspective, peace. Ladies, if you're in the dating realm, if you're in a relationship or trying to be in a relationship with a man that's in his, I'm going to say, second half of his 30s and above, you need to understand that peace is the stability that we are looking for in this phase of life. And if you can't bring peace, bye, Felicia. I mean,
just ask yourself this question. Just think about it. A modern man who has money, who has his own place, who's working his own job, has savings, he can get a cook, he can get a cleaner, he can use porn or go, find an escort. What does he need you for if he can have all those needs met other than peace and companionship? And I see stability. A lot of ladies, stability. Well, that comes from that peace of mind, knowing that she brings peace to his life. And knowing that we can acknowledge the storms of life and get through them together. And I see a lot of ladies on dating apps now who are telling all the men about what they got to be or what they're not going to put up with and all these different things. And every one of those guys is be like, she doesn't sound very peaceful to me. So bye. I'm not even going to like or subscribe. I'm going to just bounce.
Well, and that's what I was about to say, because guys won't, guys in general won't come out with a whole list of, they need to be this. They'll just peace out. Which again, peace out. I mean, it's one of the, if you can't be the peace, then there will be a peace out, right? So guys ain't gonna sit there and try to beg you or want you to make you meet a criteria list, and you got to make 6 figures, and you got to be whatever, and you got to. I mean, we have preferences and all that kind of stuff, but a guy will just check out, just bounce out, just peace out, just no thank you. Just that's where you get the ghosting and all that kind of stuff. He just doesn't sense the stability and the peace that can come from you in that kind of way. And I'm a guy that used to have a raging porn addiction. I mean, and have transformed that to now helping people get free from porn. And I can tell you that is not a stable existence for a man. It's much better for it. What he's really searching for is intimacy, and intimacy buried in that is the peace, and it's the connection, and it's the vulnerability, and all those kinds of things. And so even though we might be medicating something with something temporary and artificial, what we're really looking for is that peace and that stability.
Yeah, and that's what every man is looking for, and that's why we talk about acknowledging the storms, because that's pretty much the first test a man will go through with you if he decides to date you and go through a relationship with you, or even try to have a relationship with you. And you have these moments, the Karen takes the wheel and starts to head towards the cliff, and if he can't acknowledge that and talk to you about that, he's not very confident that in the future, when things get really hard, that it's not going to be brushed on the rug, ignored, and then turn into a really big storm and a really big explosion. And that's where that stability and peace of mind comes from. And nowadays, we're all so busy. We've all been pushed to be isolated. Well, there's no more real family. There's no more village anymore. We don't have that village mentality where we're all in this together. The media and all these movements are pushing us to be more and more isolated. Well, as we get more isolated and become more comfortable being by ourselves, then it only especially for guys like us that have been through all those areas and phases of life to get to this point where, like, okay, well, I just need peace and somebody who can enhance my life and improve my life by being around. And if they don't see peace from you, or stability, or maybe an enhancement or something to make their life better, they're just going to stay where they're at, even though they're not as happy as they could be. At least they're peaceful.
Right. And it feels like, over within one generation, we've gone from Carrie Underwood singing "Jesus Take the Wheel" to now modern feminism just saying "Karen take the wheel." Right. Now I'm gonna flip script a little bit here, and I'm gonna pivot to the guys. And speaking to the guys, I mean, part of our strength in a woman's life is the ability to provide space, is the ability to provide structure or a sense of predictability, all those kinds of things, to be the mountain that the cloud can go around and not be affected, where they might have a world that they know is chaotic. I mean, it's hard for women to just focus during the day because there's so many things they think about: the kids, the this, the that, the house, the blah, 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 the bills, all this other kind of stuff. And so they know that femininity is chaos. And so what we can bring and offer to them is a sense of consistency and stability. We can be the flagpole that allows them to be Old Glory and to flap in all of their glory as the winds come by. And so sometimes us as men, we need to accept the fact that this is hard to do, but when it's hard, I don't pull out, I push in.
Yeah. That was a word picture right there.
That was a word picture right there. Yeah. Some people might not be able to handle that. Don't blame JBK. That was total criticism. But when it's hard, we don't pull out. When it's hard, guys, we should be pushing in. When it's hard, we should be doing the thing. You don't get medals of honor for checking out when the battle gets tough, right? You don't get the knight in shining armor when you run away from dragons. What does Patricia say? I love that. Be the flagpole. Yeah. And when we're the flagpole, ladies, recognize the fact that we are the flagpole and at least honor us or respect us in that kind of way as well. Like, we do have benefit in your life. Don't say you don't need no man when you know that your life is chaos and you're a flag with no flagpole. Don't preach that. And when you hear that, speak up and say, excuse me, but that is a benefit that I can get from a man in my life. But so we got to be able to see and appreciate these things on both sides. And sometimes from a man's perspective, that means jumping on the grenade, man, and saying, you know what, I'm going to provide space in the middle of this storm. I'm going to provide safety. I'm going to provide, a place where she can look when everything is going all to hell. She can look at me and I can say, baby, it's going to be okay. And she knows it is, because I am the consistent, stability, the stable thing in her life.
Yeah, and gentlemen, getting back to you guys, and reason you struggle so much with this, especially a lot of us being raised in a feminist society now and being raised by single mothers and being taught to look to the feminine for our validation, that is why it's so hard for you to weather that storm, because we talk so much about men not looking to women to be their validation or to be, what they look forward to build value from. Your backbone comes from your own inner worth and knowing your value, and what makes you be able to weather those storms when the feminine is chaotic, because you're not looking to her for your validation. And so when she's being cray and Karen's taking the wheel, you can go, okay, it's not about me. She's having a moment. I can weather the storm and be that stable rock, that flagpole that she can flap on. But if you're still looking to the women in your life for your validation to prove to you that you're a man, or to make you feel like more of a man, you're missing the point. And that's why we've talked so much about nice guy syndrome and where it comes from and why it's such a problem. Because when you're looking to the women for for your validation, you end up doing whatever they say. You have no voice of your own, you have no opinion of your own, and you get put immediately into the friend zone. And then you wonder why. Well, I'm doing everything she wants. Why doesn't she love me? Why does she care about me? Well, it's because you're not living through purpose of your own. You're not living through choice of your own. You're uh, too affected by her storms. And that's part of the S testing, the crap testing that women do to us, to see if we can take their storms and their chaos. And if you're too checked into what she thinks and what she feels and all those different things, then how are you going to be able to be that stable base for her when she is being chaotic? It's about you finding your own backbone and your own purpose and your own path, and having her be the addendum to that, having her be the extra, the fuel to that fire to make it bloom and grow.
Yeah.
When we're sitting here going, well, baby, I do whatever you want. I love you. You just tell me what you want. And you wonder why she's not respecting you and walks away. It's because she knows deep down that you're not going to be a stable influence. You're not going to be able to create that structure that she needs.
Yeah. And a lot of times the way this gets translated in our modern culture is that men are intimidated by women and that sort of thing. And, I think more often than not, it's a man saying, nah, I'm not down with that. And I think there is a fine line, especially when you're in the initial dating meeting phases, when you really begin to see who she is as a person. I do think there is somebody you need to cut bait with. I do think it can get to the point, especially as guys, where you say, okay, if she's going to be not, every now and then Karen takes the wheel, but if she is going to allow Karen to dominate her life, and if she's going to expect that Karen to now dominate my life, and she's not even willing to accept it, to work on that, to anything, okay, you pull one cord to rip away the old chute, and then you pull the other cord to launch or release your reserve chute, right? I mean, and so I do think there is a break-even point where, from a guy perspective, it's like, I'm not called to jump on that grenade. She's got to be the right one, but then when she is the right one, we got to be willing to step in there and to be that guy.
Yeah. And when you're out dating and you want to know if this guy thinks you might be the right one, he is looking to you for that peace of mind, for that stability, and for that accountability of, like, let's acknowledge what's going on so we can have these conversations. Because if we can't acknowledge the small things and talk about these things, what do we have to build on? It's like you're trying to build a castle on the beach. There's no foundation there. So can you be that peace of mind for him that is like, okay, I know she's going to have her moments, but we're going to talk about it. I know she's going to be able to handle my moments and let me have my moments of when I'm the little boy again, when I've been triggered, when I'm weak, and not run away because, oh, he's not the alpha man, he's not strong anymore. It's like, we're human beings. We all have ebb and flows. The full moon comes out, we all go a little crazy, whatever the season is. So can we handle those things together and find that trust and that stability together so that we can build something to move forward in? And if you're not finding a man who's willing to stick it out with you, maybe ask yourself, are you being stable? Are you giving him peace of mind? Or are you just showing him the storm and then going, I want what storm? It's fine out. I don't see no trees flying around. Let's be a little honest.
At least landing this airplane for me looks like this in a minute. I think it does come down to trust. I think if, first of all, if she shows up in the beginning stages of the meeting and courting and all that kind of stuff, offering stability, offering peace, looking for ways that she can be his peace in the midst of all the battles he has going on in life, then ideally, in a perfect situation, she'll see the reciprocation of him being the structure, him being the space holder, him being the whatever metaphor you want to use, him being that in her life. And then ideally those kind of things flow and you build trust on all that kind of stuff. And then to your point, when a guy has one of those days where he just doesn't have it, I ain't got it, baby, then he can trust her. I mean, it takes a very strong, a mature, it takes a deep woman to stand in the presence of a man that's going through something and to still love him, see him as a man, be a safe place for him. treasure chest that he can put all of his riches in and all that kind of stuff. And I think all of this does come down to a matter of trust, man. I'm sorry, that was more than a minute. What about you?
It's definitely about trust, and ladies, you got to remember, most men, more than 51 out of 100, we're not ruled by emotions like you ladies are. We're very logical, linear thinkers. We live in our little boxes. There's the work box, there's the home box, there's the sports box, there's all these, and we switch between those boxes. Xbox, so we have that one too. But we switch between the boxes, and sometimes it takes the time to shift. But being logical and linear and keeping everything separate like that, we're looking for a logical ROI, a return on our investment. And if you are a woman who can be strong and deep and give him that peace of mind that there is some stability, there is some acknowledgement, and there is some trust between the two of us that we can move forward and we can actually talk about our moments. And honestly, it's those moments when you go through those storms together that become the glue in the relationship, becomes the fertilizer that helps that relationship bloom and grow. But if you're ignoring those things and you're not showing him that you can actually acknowledge your cray and acknowledge when Karen's taking the wheel, then he's going to go, well, obviously this is not somebody I can invest in because there's no return on investment because she's not being logical and stable or even acknowledging what is going on. So can you do that? Can you just be like, hey, I had a crazy moment, let's talk about it? He's going to go, oh, this is somebody I can build trust with, somebody I can build something with because we can acknowledge and work through these things and then create that glue to stick ourselves together even stronger.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite you all to partner with us. Communicate with us, watch us, support us, all that kind of good stuff. MadmenRadio.com is our website. MadmenRadio.com, pretty straightforward. We both went to public school, so we like to keep it easy.
Keep it simple.
You can find the radio station on there. You can contact us. You can reach out to us. We want to hear your feedback. If you're watching this after it's live, put a comment down there. You'll be surprised how quick we both, one of us will reply back to you. It goes straight to our phone and all that kind of stuff. So we love that.
Yeah,
your mom even chimed in last time, man.
Yeah, she did. I don't know if she liked it or not.
My mom said she loved the one last week with my son. She's like it made her tear up a little bit and stuff like that.
That was a good one. That was
our moms support us, man. So
our moms love us. You should love us too.
Engage with us. Let us know you're out there, and otherwise, we will absolutely see y'all.
We know we have faces for radio that only our mothers will love, and they let us know. So we love y'all. We'll see you next time. Madmen out.